Good morning. Good morning. JMart is here to talk about the Jameis Winston roller coaster that led me to an 0-4. I take the 0-4. I should have been 1-3. Okay. I don't know why he's throwing a pick six at the end of the game for no reason. And then, like, we can just lose. That's fine. He doesn't have to go all the way down the field and then throw another interception on the 3-yard line. That was the worst interception of all of them. So, yeah, I go 0-4. You're 2-0. You're getting rolling here, so that's good news. The AFC is, I mean, it feels like we've been having the same conversation now for 4 weeks in a row, so we're not going to do that again. The NFC is up in the air. Packers Lions should be interesting. So much to go over, but I really want to spend this pod on college football playoff because I think I'm understanding most of it, and I just need you to fill in the blanks here. So, first of all, good morning, and why didn't you just tell me to take your stupid prop bets yesterday instead of my 0-4 Monday Night Football disaster?
Well, yeah, I saw the picks and I was like, I checked the numbers. I was like, the Broncos defense is good, but like for some reason, yards are just going up. So I was like, well, Winston loves a spot where he can just throw for a lot of yards. So I was like, he's probably going to find a way.
It started off great. Broncos go 3 and out. Browns miss a field goal. I'm like, this is exactly the type of football game I want. And then it was one big throw after another. Jerry Jeudy was amazing. I guess that's going to go down as your best bet of the year, right?
Oh, dude, I thought about, I liked the line by itself, and then I was like, shit, this is a revenge game for him. I was like, oh damn, this is probably a really good line. And then
two things can be true. He fits in perfectly as like a great receiver for a team, but not in the Sean Payton offense. Sean Payton wants to run disciplined offense. Bo Nix, Broncos are going to play the Colts in 2 weeks. That's really what's going to decide that 7th spot, unless we see another team just pull a Jacksonville and lose the last 5 games of the year like the Jags did last year. But all right, let's go through it, man. So Penn State versus Oregon. That's the Big Ten championship. Oregon wins, they're the 1 seed. Penn State wins, they're probably the 1 or 2 seed. Both teams are going to make it. Even if Oregon wins 50-4, like, it doesn't really matter. Penn State's going to get in, right?
Yeah, they're both locks. This is just for seeding. This is for who gets the bye, who doesn't, basically.
And then Ohio State's in, Indiana's in. Doesn't matter what else happens, right? We got 4.
All 4 of those they're good. They're good. Yeah.
Got it. Boise State. I promised myself I wouldn't make things too complicated this morning. So Boise State wins. They're playing UNLV, Mountain West Championship. They win. They're in, and they're the 4 seed, right?
Yes.
Yeah. If they lose, we will figure that out. When do they play? They play on the 6th. That's Friday, right? Today is Tuesday the 3rd, Wednesday the 4th, Thursday.
Yeah, Friday. Yeah.
All right. So if they lose on Friday, you'll help me Saturday morning. But let's just assume they win. Although UNLV is a live dog, so we'll find out. That game's on Friday night. The other game on Friday, Tulane Army, that's only relevant if Boise State loses. So for purposes of today, Boise State wins. Now we got 5 teams in there. Big 12, we're going to get 1 team. It's Arizona State versus Iowa State. They're going to play at noon on Saturday. Should be a great game. It's a 2-point spread. Arizona State, Iowa State. Winner gets in. Loser has no chance to get in. So that gives us 6 teams. Real quick, do you have a strong opinion on that game?
I like Arizona State to keep rolling. I thought if they were going to screw up, it would have been last week. They didn't. Don't see too much of a reason to expect them to screw up at this point.
Got it. All right, so 6 there. Georgia's playing Texas. Same thing as Penn State and Oregon, right?
Exclusively for the bye. This game only matters for the bye. Even I know people have a heart. Even if Georgia gets that 3rd loss, even though they lost to Bama and Ole Miss, and they'll both also have 3 losses, committee has said they aren't factoring in losses in championship week outside of situations in like group of 5, automatic bids, stuff like that. Georgia will be in no matter what.
So that's 8, 7 and 8 there. Texas and Georgia, 2.5-point spread. Excuse me. We'll do a whole pod on that game later. So that's 8 teams. JMart's got to go to school. Some of us still have to go to school, so we'll get you out of here in a few minutes. So that's 8. Okay. Now we're getting a little. Let's pause on the SEC for a second. Actually, no. Let's not pause. Tennessee's in, right? Like, can we count Tennessee in?
Yeah. Tennessee will be good.
Good. So now we got 9. Okay. Now the ACC. Help me figure this out. We have Clemson's playing SMU. The winner is in. Okay. The winner's SMU wins, makes things easier. right? SMU's in. That's number 10. If Clemson wins, 24-20, close game, even if they win by 10 points, does SMU still get in?
They really shouldn't. I think the ACC should be a one. They should have one team that makes it. Unfortunately, like I was talking about with Georgia, you can't factor losses in the championship games too much this year because they're forced to play them. Committee has said they won't do it. I truly believe that both SMU and Clemson will make it no matter what. I think that with the way the committee's been talking,
Assuming Clemson wins, right?
yeah, I think they'll both make it. I think even if SMU were to win, I think they'd still probably try and find a way. Oh, no, yeah.
If SMU beats Clemson, does Miami move above Clemson? Let's leave Alabama alone for a second.
That's the thing. They can't. You can't. That can't happen this year because Clemson was in that position in the first place. Is the issue with it?
Okay, but even if they didn't play the game this week, who has a better resume, Miami or Clemson?
It's Miami because they have one less loss. Yeah.
So then why would that not mean that Miami is above Clemson?
Because I don't know. I mean, Clemson's losses are better. They have South Carolina, they have Georgia. Miami has Syracuse and Georgia Tech. The fact they're in this game again, unfortunately, matters. I think you can't penalize them if if you penalize Clemson for playing this and losing, this is where it gets really confusing because I think Miami's a better team. I'd prefer to see Miami there.
Clemson's 100% going to win. Everything you're saying, the stress in your face, and you don't really care one way or the other, just makes me 1,000% sure Clemson's going to win.
I do think Clemson will win this game because it's Dabo Swinney. It's a must-win game. SMU, not really must-win. I fully believe Clemson.
Then the question is, who has a better resume then, Miami or SMU? Because SMU hasn't beaten anybody.
But they only had one regular season loss and were forced into an ACC championship game. That's where it becomes – it's the issue with this whole situation is we got to remember if you're playing in this in any championship game, unless you're Boise State, Arizona State, Iowa State, any of those teams, you can only benefit from playing this game. You cannot really lose. You can't fall out of the playoffs by losing here unless you're fighting for an automatic bid.
Just to be clear, I forgot to mention Notre Dame. So Notre Dame's already in. So we're fighting. So the last spot that's available, right, assuming that there's no upsets this week, assuming nothing happens and there's no craziness, and SMU beats Clemson, that last spot goes to where? There's no Alabama or Miami to even move up, correct?
If Clemson beats SMU, or then yeah,
SMU beats Clemson. That 12 spot. It's Miami or Alabama, right?
Yes, or Ole Miss. I give it to one of those three. I've seen a decent case for Ole Miss also having an argument. It's really complicated. Ole Miss beat out of similar matchups against ranked teams between Ole Miss and Alabama, basically South Carolina and Georgia. Ole Miss beat both those teams by more than Alabama did. Ole Miss lost to Arkansas and beat Oklahoma, I believe. Alabama beat Arkansas, lost to Oklahoma. The margins combined there are favorable to Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin posted a super long tweet about all this stuff, basically arguing for why Ole Miss should be there.
There's a 0% chance Ole Miss goes in over Alabama.
They shouldn't. It will be Bama. It will be Bama. There is arguments to say that you could argue for Ole Miss. In my opinion, Alabama will make it basically no matter what out of those three teams. Even though Miami has one less loss, it's Alabama. They always find a way.
We kind of glossed over the idea that a loss in this game doesn't really matter. But I'm going to have a hard time with a 3-loss Ole Miss or Alabama team if Penn State just lost by like 24 to Oregon, right? Like if they just get their ass kicked. But you're telling me Penn State, Indiana, they're 100% getting in, right?
It has to be. Any losses, no matter how bad, for any of the Big Ten or SEC teams should be completely ignored. Because you'll see a Georgia 3-loss team, they could get beat by 50 against Texas, but they still were a 2-loss team in the regular season. And that's what they should be compared to in comparison to the teams that didn't end up playing in a championship game. It gets really messy because this format's kind of weird.
Yeah,
But yeah,
they're gonna have to change this.
there shouldn't be automatic bids. That's one thing I'll say. I think that they thought it was going to be a lot more clean with the top four until the Big 12 wasn't very good, and then the ACC kind of didn't play anybody. It's made it a very weird season for the first ever 12-teamer. You don't see as much parity as this season ever. You don't see 3 lost teams in the top 10 really ever. It's a very weird season for this to happen. Like, yeah,
I think we're just in a transition to having 2 leagues. I don't know how many more years, but it's just going to feel like the AFC and the NFC, which means a lot of teams are going to get left out. And I don't know what happens to those other programs, but this is just too goofy to like decide things like this. Like, because it's just weird. I
it's
don't
the
know.
real argument. If you're doing best teams out there, ACC wouldn't have anybody because based off resume, none of them have a good one. They just haven't lost anyone because they haven't played anyone. So then it becomes just like stacked with like 8 SEC teams because they've all just played each other and just eaten each other. And then no one's represented. So, and then you're not making as much money. It's a really messy position. It's going to be messy. If I had to guess, Georgia probably loses to Texas, and then you end up with a situation where people are saying, well, they're 3 losses, and they lost to Alabama and Ole Miss.
It makes you appreciate the college basketball tournament because
so straightforward.
it's
So
clean.
straightforward.
It is. All right. Well, yeah, we'll break down all the games. We'll do a pod here. Probably do it on Friday or Saturday, the latest, to talk about all these games because they're all like great betting spots if you have a good opinion. Because the lines are, 2 points here, 2 points there, 4 points. It's almost like if you think you know what's going on, great, because the lines makers are like, yeah, we've just watched 4 months of football and we have no idea who the better team is. It's a lot of lines where you're like, wait, that's the line? Didn't Georgia destroy Texas and now Texas is still 2.5-point favorites? Does that make any sense? A lot of different things to look at. So we'll talk about it. I'll let you roll. Any hot takes from NFL before we go, whether last week or moving forward? Your Falcons are a disaster. I know that much.
Probably that I just don't like the Vikings. All season I've watched them play. I see first round exit written all over that team.
Sound like a Bears fan.
Yeah.
I like the
Vikings.
Vikings.
It's going to be that the Packers were a first round exit too, but yeah.
They won 4 straight games that they could have lost. I think that's got to count for something. And yeah, you said they're a first round exit, but they also still have a shot at the 1 seed. I know that you're probably scoffing at that, but they do get to play at Detroit.
They do. Yeah, they do.
They're going to play the Falcons this week. Yeah, there's several good games, so we'll break it down as we go. I'm going to get better. This is just a blip here or these past 2 nights.
It was a really weird week for predicting the outcomes of games. A lot of weird stuff happened. Yeah, really weird one.
But Sunday night and then losing the standalone games, yeah, not fun. Not fun. All right, I'll see you in a couple of days. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great day. All right, thanks, bud.
All right, see you, man.